Hello, welcome to your favorite tech show on television with Don Pedro Agambi. You know what we do here every week, but in case you don't, we look at issues, trends, developments in the global ICT industry. Today, we have an incredible package for you. Stay with us.
From Nigeria receives the first prize in the AISI GTZ TV category for his program, ICT Africa. Congratulations, Don Pedro.
ICT Reporter of the Year Electronic, Don Pedro Agambi.
And in case you've just joined us, you're watching Africa's numero uno tech show on television with Don Pedro Agambi. When we come back from this quick break, you meet our tech personality of the week.
There's a lot of noise in the media about 5G, but the realization is 4G coverage in Nigeria is still somewhere around 45% of our population.
And you ask yourself, fintech should be on a cloud platform. So which cloud are they sitting on? So Nigerian fintech doing business in Nigeria, but they're sitting on the cloud outside of Nigeria.
If you say that there is no Nigerian software to handle LNG shipping, if you say that there is no Nigerian software that can handle remote well-held operations in the oil and gas sector, if you say there's no Nigerian software that can handle billing for power systems, despite the fact that your law already says that 70% of technology in the deregulated PHCN, 70% of the technology must be Nigerian local content. And then you say there is no billing system that is Nigerian. There is no this, there is no that. When will there ever be?
Until we understand that actually the potential and the capacity of nations lies in the heads and minds of human beings and not under the ground, it's a country going nowhere.
Our tech personality of the week is the Director, Payment Systems Management at Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN.
Fraud is almost an everyday thing. There are people that every day they think about how they can penetrate the banking system, the banking infrastructure, the payment infrastructure. It's a way of livelihood to them. So they do it all the time. And that's why we need to up our antes in terms of protecting, our technology infrastructure, our financial infrastructure, our payment infrastructure. We need to constantly, monitor it and put a lot of surveillance on all the various entities that participate in the ecosystem. All the banks should come together and discuss cyber fraud, cyber security. They should discuss it all the time. Awareness is very key. That awareness not only does it prevent those that do not have the knowledge within the banking industries from getting the knowledge, it also helps in educating the banking public. Majority of the frauds that are committed today are actually on impersonation, where somebody sends you a fictitious text message purported to have been sent by a bank, and then just innocently the customer will respond to it and there will be a data breach and surrender all his credentials and all that. So we need that sensitization. I understand that majority of the fraud that are actually happening within the banking system today come from the bank within. And so in addition to the maker-checker authorization or authentication process that we have put, every single transaction from customers that request authorization goes through a check that certifies that yes, it is truly coming from the owner. So the two-factor authentication is no longer, enough. we need to move beyond two-factor authentication. And so everybody's talking about multi-factor authentication and all that. We need to do that. And they also need to train the people within. They need to train their staff. A lot of them also, I believe they're not well equipped in terms of knowing, when they see fraud vectors, how to react immediately and all that. Someone can actually attempt to steal your money. And if you are very quick, and if you respond to your anti-money, laundry system or your fraud monitoring system, you can quickly intervene and get the money back. Just this afternoon, we're discussing about money that are taken from the bank. And we say when monies are stolen from the bank, they are not taken out as cash. They move around in electronic form, which means that they are running from one account to the other. Why can't we trace those account owners and bring them to book? If we do that, it will serve as deterrent to those who present their accounts for fraudsters to use. On our own, we also continue to do is about sensitization, pushing them to do more. Because at the end of the day, they own the customers. Central Bank doesn't own any customer. They own the customers, and it is their responsibility to protect those customers. And so they have 100% responsibility of keeping the monies of the customers, protecting it, and educating the customers in terms of what they need to do to avoid being defrauded. So it's only when CBN is pushed to the wall where you keep reminding, stop doing this is the best way to do, and somebody doesn't do the right thing, then we can say, okay, we need to call that person to order. But from our own end, because of that international connection, we communicate with other regulatory bodies outside of the country. Whenever we have meetings and we share our own perspectives on fraud vectors and topologies, whatever we get from them, we pass it on to our operators here for them to also see, the other side of what is happening in other countries. And I think with that kind of international collaboration, we'll be able to sanitize, our industries and get rid of all those cyber criminals. When a customer comes to a bank to complain, makes a complaint, either money has been taken off the account as a result of fraud, or a chargeback where a transaction failed, whatever the reason that the customer comes, we need to take everything holistically. There are genuine transactions that have failed, for which customers can come and say, look, this transaction didn't happen at the merchant outlet, but my account has been debited, so give me back my money. It's a chargeback. You have incidences where a customer never even performed any transaction at all, and the account is debited, so a fraud has happened. But you have a situation, which is the funny part of it, where a customer intentionally go and defraud him or herself and goes into the bank and say it's been defrauded. And that's where this two-factor, three-factor authentication comes in. How are you sure? How can the bank prove that, yes, the customer actually did the transaction? We've had the cases. We have some cases where a customer goes to an ATM, withdraws money. There's a camera there. He goes, withdraws money, and goes into the bank online and said his account has been debited. He never withdrew the money until when the camera was played. Or the foot, images were played, and so some they actually give their cards to their friends, to their words, and they go and do that, and they say they don't know. And when we show the foot images, then they say, oh, I didn't know it was this person. I'm really sorry. So, but for the genuine ones, what Central Bank had done is to speed up the resolution timeline. To say, look, you can't tell a customer to wait 3-4 days before he gets back his or her money. And so we have reviewed the dispute resolution timelines to 24 hours if the transaction happened within your bank, so it's in-house, and 48 hours if it happened from another bank, whether another bank's merchant or another bank's ATM, as long as your bank is not involved where the transaction was initiated from. We call it, an off-us transaction, not on us transaction, or maybe the issuer could call it a remote on us transaction. Whichever way, as long as it is not your bank's, channel, or you're not your bank's merchant, then it takes 48 hours. So we've reduced the timeline. It used to be 3 days for within your bank and 5 days for outside of your bank. We've reduced it now to same day if it happens within your bank, and 2 days if it happens outside. And we also deploy, a central dispute resolution system being managed by NIPS, where all banks will key, their infrastructure to and be able to report centrally, so that it makes it very easy for the banks to be able to resolve those disputes, all geared towards getting this resolved within a very short time. And one of the features, of that system, that dispute resolution system, is the e-receipt. One of the elements in dispute resolution is that the merchant is always required to present an evidence that a transaction happened or it didn't happen. And the only evidence that the merchant usually presents is the receipt, its own copy, to show that yes, this transaction was approved or it was declined. And so that's the evidence. And merchants are usually required by the acquirers to present that so that they can take that case to reply to the issuer and all that. You've had cases where those receipts have either faded or they are lost or they were not even printed. We've had transactions where receipt was not even generated. And so the e-receipt is the one that electronically generates the receipt. So an acquirer doesn't even need to go to a merchant to ask for receipt. You can actually pick the receipt and respond on behalf of the merchant in terms of whether a transaction was successful or it was, a failed transaction. So these are some of the initiatives that we are bringing to bear, and the financial technology industry players, the fintech, are also helping in providing technology and innovative ideas. Together, we are working as an ecosystem to see how we can, tame down the incidences of dispute transactions. CBN actually regulates it. If we had left it to the banks would probably have been charging more than that. And the reason why the public thinks that there are multiple fees is because CBN does not want the fees to be lumped. CBN says demonstrate transparency. Whatever you want to charge for, bring it out and let's see. So for example, a bank would say, there is no card maintenance fee. I'm not charging you card maintenance fee. No. But I'm issuing the card to you for 1,200. No card maintenance fee. You would think, no, they only charge for card. They don't charge for card maintenance fee. But what they have done is to say, okay, the card actually cost 1,000. The maintenance fee is 200 naira. Are you getting it now? So you think, oh, there are two charges and all that. The account maintenance fee, also serve a different purpose and all that. A bank will lump all of this together and begin to negotiate with the customer. There are some banks today that operate certain accounts where you don't pay all these fees. It depends on your relationship with the bank and tied to your transaction volume and all that. There is a bank that says if you keep a minimum, amount of money in your account for over a period of time, they'll give you card for free. They won't charge you for account maintenance fee. They will even pay interest on your current account. So it's actually supposed to be a negotiation between the customer, and I think we'll get to a point where banks will begin to practice that as a standard. Right now, what CBN is simply doing is to say, if at all you want to charge the customers, because we know these services are not provided to you for free. You also get these services, you contract some of these services out. For example, you have a switching company that switches your transaction. You have a processor that processes your transaction. A bank is not a processor. A bank is not a switch. That's not its forte. A bank is not a personalization company. So a card has to be prepared by a peso company and all of that. So they are all outsourced. So there is a cost to providing banking services. But what CBN basically says is that in the event that you want to charge for these services, here is the maximum that you can charge. We are a country pursuing financial inclusion. And high cost of banking services is one of the major deterrents to financial inclusion. So unless we wage in and say, no, you can't just charge anyhow, it would have been worse than this. So, and year on year, central bank reviews the situations and then remove. Remember, there was a time in this country where ATM withdrawal was for remote on us was 100 naira. When you withdraw from an ATM, you pay 100 naira. You remember? From another bank's ATM. It came down to 65. Today it's 35. Who says it can't be 20 naira tomorrow? And who says in 5 years' time it cannot be zero? So as things progress, and as we get more people into the banking, to the financial system, and we get more volume, the banks would begin to adjust their price. And that's why we are pursuing financial inclusion vigorously. In addition to making the life of the unbanked better, we're also trying to get everybody digitized so that the cost of providing financial services can taper down. Naira design, basically the objective is to enable the central bank have a hold on currency in circulation. Some of the monies that we have printed are no longer in circulation. People withdrew and kept it, and some of those monies have even been destroyed due to long time of keeping it in areas that are not conducive to the notes and all that. We want to have total money in circulation. We also want to fight against counterfeit. There are so many counterfeits, and so a redesign, which normally happens after a period of 6-7 years, is normal in any country, and that's what we are doing basically. So it will reduce the incidences of monies that have been counterfeited, because those monies can't come to the bank. The banks will find a way of detecting that this is a counterfeit, so they can't bring it. It will also help in enabling us to have a hold of the total money in circulation and all that, and it will help us improve our monetary policy, activities and all that. It will also improve our push for a cashless economy. Because right now, a lot of people bring their money into the bank and digitize it. People used to keep their money home and be doing shadow businesses. Transactions are happening in cash that we don't see. If I pay you with cash, it's not recorded anywhere. So we don't know the activity happening in the economy. Now you are forced to bring the money into the system, and it's digitized. Even if you withdraw it again, at least we now know the total volume of money that all Nigerians, are holding. That's basically the objective. And all in all, it would, in a far-reaching effect, tame down fraud, incidences of fraud. Thank you very much.
Tech Personality of the Week, Mr. Musa Jimoh, who is the Director, Payment Systems Management Department at Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN. And that's how far time will allow us this week on this highly informative and educative package of your program. For comments and observation, reach us on the numbers and email now showing on your screen. And on behalf of the production crew, thanks for watching. Same time, same station. I'll be back next time. I'll see you.